it was great that we had some Raptors storylines at the All-Star game or the All-Star festivities with Scotty Barnes, Brandon playing in the All-Star game, Darko Rajakovic coaching in the All-Star game. But perhaps the biggest story in regards to the Raptors that came out from All-Star weekend was Kawhi Leonard. And unfortunately, it really was for the wrong reasons. Let's investigate a little bit further. Lots has been said about Kawhi Leonard's departure from the Raptors. There's a lot of respect, and for myself, there's a lot of respect there. He went to a place in Toronto that we've now really confirmed he did not want to be there. He questioned why they traded him because he said, I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to re-sign. He did not want to be in Toronto. Yet still, he gave his absolute all for the team and for the city. Gave his absolute all to stay as healthy as possible and put up one of the all-time great playoff runs as the Toronto Raptors won the 2019 NBA championship. But forever grateful, and I forever respect Kawhi Leonard for that. And you know what? He won the chip. He wanted to go to LA. Sure, whatever. We could have run it back, but okay, again, fine. I'm at peace. I'm at peace with what's happened there mostly. But what I'm not going to be at peace with, and where I lose some respect, is perhaps the way Kawhi Leonard spoke about that team. Because I think a big story from the most recent All-Star weekend for Raptors fans in particular was like Raptors representation for the people involved, like I said, Barnes, Ingram, and Rajakovic, but also former Raptors involved, like Pascal Siakam, who's now 4-time All-Star, and former Raptor Norman Powell, who had his first All-Star appearance. Norman Powell making the All-Star team means that the 2019 Raptors championship roster actually has 6 All-Star players on it. 6 All-Stars. They weren't necessarily All-Stars that season. Perhaps they were All-Stars before that season with the Raptors. Perhaps they were All-Stars after that season with the Raptors. Like Marc Gasol was before, and then after Fred VanVleet, and Norman Powell now was. 6 All-Star caliber players on that Raptors championship roster. Yet still, Kawhi had some very interesting words about that team. Let's listen in here.
2019 Raptors team. Now that team now has 6 All-Stars with Norm making it as well. When you reflect back on that team, like how proud are you of all the young guys who grew up into All-Stars and just how good that team was when you reflect back on it?
Everybody comes into their own, but the talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was. And
let's listen to that back.
Everybody comes into their own, but
listen here.
The talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was, and that's the reason why we won. Everybody thought they were better than they were, competed at a high level every night, and I'm happy for them, especially for Norm. Even
2019.
Well, he's happy for them. He's happy for Norm. That's great to see. But what did he say? The talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was, and that's the reason we won. So we have to give, a credit to where the work ethic was for the Raptors team. They absolutely worked their ass off for that championship. They had to put in a lot of work. I wasn't betting at the time, so I don't know what the odds reflected on them going into, they're obviously favored against the Magic. I imagine they were slight underdogs against the Sixers in the second round, despite being the home seed. I imagine they were sizable underdogs against the Milwaukee Bucks going into the conference finals. And I imagine they were sizable underdogs going into the finals against the Golden State Warriors, okay? That definitely would have felt that was the case. But, I think in the end, we should look back at the team kind of why were they treated like that? This was an amazing roster, an incredibly deep roster that was also pretty loaded with some top-end talent. And yet Kawhi Leonard is saying the talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was. And I saw this quote and immediately, I saw the quote before I saw the video. I saw the quote and I kind of dove in a little bit more. And because I saw the quote initially, I was just like, is this taken out of context? And then you watch the video and then you look at the whole quote and you kind of go, no, this is the context. This is exactly what he said. I don't know. I think he was trying to be respectful about the team and just say how hard this team worked and grafted and everything, but it definitely came off quite disrespectful about that roster, talking about how the talent wasn't there. Like, let's have a look at how good, like, we'll look at the game 6 here, how good this roster of players was. Pascal Siakam is now a 4-time All-Star. Kyle Lowry's a 6-time All-Star. It had Kawhi Leonard, who's obviously fantastic. Marc Gasol, who is a possible future Hall of Famer. I think he should get in. I think he's a 2 or 3-time All-Star. Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. You've got Danny Green, 3-time champ. Great glue piece there. Fred VanVleet, eventual All-Star. Serge Ibaka, like one of the better players who've existed in this game, who was never an All-Star, I'd say. And Norman Powell, who is now an NBA All-Star. This team was so good that when OG Anunoby came back from injury, they were like, you know what? We're good. Like, as much as OG is great and is now like a max contract player, we were like, you know what? Let's not disrupt the rhythm here. We're so good that we don't even need OG Anunoby to go and do this thing and win a freaking NBA championship. So to say this is not a talent, like a roster where, not an untalented roster, but like the talent wasn't there is pretty crazy to me, quite honestly. Harsh, really harsh about this team, I'd say, as well. Trying to just piece together what he was talking about here. I mean, granted, like I said, they were probably underdogs against the Sixers. They were underdogs against the Bucks. They were underdogs against the Warriors. So maybe what he's trying to say is the talent wasn't there compared to the teams they were playing against. Because clearly, I mean, I think it should be very clear the talent was there for the team. But perhaps it wasn't at the level of the teams they were playing against. But whether they lacked in talent against those teams that they were underdogs against, they made up for in the work ethic they displayed in those games, sticking to the game plan, the game planning from Nick Nurse, which was phenomenal over the course of that playoff run, even for him as a rookie head coach. So I'm very much hoping that is the way Kawhi Leonard is trying to spin it. The talent wasn't there compared to the teams they were playing against. But then again, you know, Kawhi Leonard this season has talked about with the Clippers how, I'm not quite sure the exact ways worded it, but he's spoken about it like, you know, the Clippers are missing some talent right now. When it's really annoying when he talks about like the hardships of the Clippers and the lack of talent on that roster when there was such an extraordinarily talented roster here in Toronto. It was such a talented roster that, you know, they had a better record the year after he left. Without Kawhi Leonard, they had a better regular season record. Now, I'm not saying they're a better team. They obviously would have been better with Kawhi Leonard, but they were like a basket away from going to the conference finals and being probably favored against the Miami Heat. Like, I think if we don't have COVID, we have home court against the Celtics second round. Siakam doesn't forget how to play basketball, hopefully. We probably win that series. I think we get back to the NBA Finals. That team, I mean, that's cope from myself, but that team, what I'm saying is that team, even without Kawhi Leonard the next season, was good enough to have gone back to the NBA Finals, to have won the Eastern Conference once again. So obviously, that team was extraordinarily talented, and even if it's not what Kawhi Leonard meant to say, it is extremely disrespectful the way he worded it about his former teammates.